Ms.Dria.
Seeing her staring at the wall. T-Cap telling me to carry on. Cause you win some, you lose some, but you live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ms.Dria Show, where I'm your host, Ms.Dria. And here with me, I have my beautiful co-host,
Davia, the Wonder Twins.
and here with us, we have two fine gentlemen. Please introduce
Very
yourself
fine.
for us.
My name's Ivan Garcia. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. And here next to me,
David Michael.
David Michael, the one and only. Welcome, guys, to the show. It's a pleasure to have you back, David, and it's a pleasure to have you on for the first time, Ivan. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. So first off, tell us a little bit about yourself, since we really don't know who you are just yet. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what it is that you do.
So I'm from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean.
Okay.
So like to represent for our cultural people.
Okay.
I'm a mix of a bunch of different things, so
Love
a
it.
lot of different backgrounds and experiences, which is awesome. I've been a consultant for about 3 years, and I recently switched over into the data world. So I'm in the banking industry doing a lot of data and analytics, so that's kind of my spiel where I'm at right now.
Okay. Please tell them a little bit about yourself.
My name is David Michael. Basically, I'm a community activist. I'm with a group called Save the Kids from Incarceration.
Love it.
And that's it, man. You know what I'm saying? Protect the neighborhood, protect the community, and you know what I'm saying, build with the ones that are doing it.
Let's talk about the emasculation of the black man.
Yeah, we don't know punches tonight. 'Cause you know, I know you're ready for this conversation.
First off, I want to say that, yes, we did invite individuals that probably aren't going to agree with this particular topic as far as, how should I put it, being on the other side of the fence with the argument. Okay. But no one has showed up, and has been 2 to 3 weeks in advance. So with that said, I just, for the viewers, just want to make sure that, you know, it's not a one-sided conversation that is being taken place here, you know. But folks that most likely that's in this room that probably semi-agree or do agree completely are here. So,
Right.
yeah, I just wanted to clear that up real fast.
Thank you for the disclaimer. If you don't show up, you can't be a part of the conversation.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, that's something that always happens.
And it's a problem.
You know, people don't come up to the conversation, but maybe the quick to be the internet trolls and want to go and say something and then want to use that platform, but not a part of the solution.
Right.
So
I just feel, you know, personally that everything that has been taking place has boiled over to the point now where we are in a situation where lines are completely being blurred as far as the mentality that men are walking around with. It's either you, for the ones that don't know the knowledge, and when I mean the knowledge as far as, you know, the ones that are still asleep, the ones that are actively just going through life, going through the motions, catering to whatever is on the television, playing it out, and just, you know, living their lives that way. I feel that it has become a point in time in our history as far as with our culture, not a lot of people know who they are or where they come from. So in order to fill that void, you look for outer stuff to fill that void, and then it may not be good for you. So now you have the, you know, just a prime example with the rap music. You have the Young Thugs and the Lil Uzi Verts and all this other madness going on, and you have kids following this because that's what who they are catering to. They're catering to the kids. A lot of the music, like me and this gentleman was talking about outside, you know, it's 6th grade, 5th grade level, you know. As adults, we are able to understand, you know, when we hear these things, that the music that's being pushed, and the white supremacist, racist, old ass CEO that's running it don't want them mainstream wise to push anything positive, you know, or uplifting, because they know that's not what sells, and it would wake the people up. It would change the energy, the mindset of what's happening initially right now.
Right.
You know?
You know what? Why you said that? Why my mind is jarred, because then we're going to continue that conversation to really unpack that, because that is a loaded question. That's not a simple one,
Yeah.
common answer. But going back to children receiving these messages, just 2 days ago, you look at the news, you hear North Miami Beach Senior High in the center of child pornography, Snapchat sliding the DM, fake accounts being made. And, a young lady's father said, you know what, I'm going to press charges. I'm going to fight this to the highest level. I'm taking make a full out FBI investigation, because his daughter image was taken. Well, they took her name, her image, so to speak, on a picture saying that these people were having intercourse. At her name, said she's going to be at this class such and such time, and then she became bullied. So cyberbullying, because of the hip hop culture and the music and just the whole, sexual promiscuity, the whole gamut. But this is not only going on at NB, it's going on throughout many high schools and middle schools here in South Florida. And if we sit quiet and keep thinking, like you're saying, like the change of the music, something more positive, uplifting, that's not the agenda. And so our children are emulating what they hear. They're mandated with these messages every single day.
It's,
TV,
it's
the
a
radio.
form of hypnosis,
Yeah.
because that's exactly what's happening. When you hear stuff on the radio all the time, you may not even like that type of music, but if you are a person that listens to the radio while you're driving, or you're just vibing out to it on the school bus or wherever you're at, eventually it's gonna become repetitive in your mind, and you might hear yourself saying this song because that's what's there, and you're like, I don't even listen to this, you know what I'm saying? And that's what happens. So it's a form of hypnosis, and they know what they're doing.
Right, definitely. It was. I want to just say this really quick. It's so ironic that we're having this conversation, because I literally just saw a post. It was yesterday, and it was Lil Uzi Vert, and it was a picture of him, when he first came out with the striped shirt and the crazy picture, and it talked about how this is supposed to be. They think they're slick or something. They're influencing our young kids to believe that this is cool, when this is not cool. This is, this is feminization. You feminizing the black man. And
Right.
Well, what I think a lot of people don't realize, or the conversation we don't usually have, are the impacts of these behaviors. And when you really look at men being feminized, it really goes in two different directions.
Okay.
The outcome can potentially be from a homosexuality standpoint, and that's one part of the conversation. But the part of the conversation I want to go to is towards the relationship end, where this has really hurt people, and most commonly women, is the fact that there was a time when a man being a masculine figure was not only a father figure, was a provider, brought money home, understood that you put your family and your finances on the forefront of your relationship. And obviously there's a change in men being stay-at-home fathers, or working jobs that can't really provide. As the economy builds up and things change, we expect that men still attempt to be at the forefront and take on that role. I love the fact that there's a new female independent movement. I think women wanting to work and pursue their careers is an awesome thing. I don't think women should be forced to feel like they have to stay at home, be stay-at-home moms. But because a woman wants to pursue her career, doesn't give you the leeway to be a freeloader. You're supposed to still do the same thing as you were doing before, but that's where the feminization comes in. There's nothing wrong with, if a woman should work if she wants to, if she chooses to. A man's obligation is to provide. And that's a very distinct difference, and I think we are getting confused as men. We feel like, well, if she's working and she's making the money, maybe it's cool if I stay at home, and I just don't agree with that concept.
I appreciate that, because listen, because to be the woman to say that, like, a lot of times I get vilified for saying that, but no, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Thank you, Mr. Garcia, for that. Like, you just got me on your super happy right now. Yes. So what did you say about that, David? Because you love him.
No, I mean, I agree. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times what winds up happening in those particular...
I'm kidding.
In those particular situations, it's just, it's weird. It's a mixed vibe, because then if you get, like, I have a lot of feminist friends, homegirls, and... what he just said, that will automatically cause an argument.
But I don't know why.
It would be a shitstorm. because now it becomes in a sense where it's like, oh, you're telling me what to do.
No, he
kinda
gave
thing.
you an option.
Exactly.
He said you have a choice. It's your choice.
Even though, and I've gotten into arguments plenty of times
Black
with
feminists.
white and
White
black.
feminists.
You
See,
know?
I'm a womanist, so I do believe to
you know,
womanhood, independence, but I am all for the plight of the sustaining of the black family
Right,
Yeah.
right.
and understanding, even being a paradigm shift in gender roles. I get that gender
Yeah.
equality, but I'm not trying to be in power struggle dynamics
Right.
with a man.
I
That's
even-
me personally.
Yeah.
Like,
I
no.
even had a situation where I opened the door for one of them, and she was like, "What you opened my door for?
my
Like,
God.
why are you holding up the door for me? I could do it myself." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
And that's an
You know what I'm
expectation
saying?
for me.
And it's like,
That's an
yeah,
expectation
it's
for
like,
me.
yo,
Like,
come on, man.
what?
Like, I'm just holding the door. I'm just being polite. You know what I'm
Being a
saying? Like,
gentleman.
I have a thing where, like, if I'm walking down the street with you, you know what I'm saying? You're a woman. You're on the outside
Yes,
of the
I'm gonna be on the
road.
other side.
I'm gonna. Excuse me.
You're
can you-
here.
can you- yeah, can you
Yeah.
post up right here real quick? I just, it's like, why are you doing that? And it's like, no, it's just something in me that was instilled in me as a kid. You know what I mean? My bad. I don't want, it's like walking,
awkward
literally,
tension. I get it.
walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, I don't know if it's like where we're geographically located at as far as South Florida, because there's so many of them that move that way. But it's just weird, and then it frustrates you as a man to see that kind of thing and experience that kind of thing, because it's like you're just trying to be polite. You know what I'm saying? Because not a lot of men do that shit nowadays.
Yeah.
that's
You know
expect.
what
I
mean?
expect
So
that.
it's
I
like, come
attract
on,
that.
man.
I'm
Like,
sorry.
I'm just,
I
Well, to
expect
put
that,
on
attract
my womanist hat,
Yes.
as you will, if I were to put that hat on for a second, I mean, if we really were to break this down into statistics, give or take $2,000, the average income of an individual in the United States, not a family, but an individual, is $42,000. Now, if you look at from rent to cell phone, to your car insurance, to food, all those basic expenses, if you want to live in a safe, comfortable community in South Florida, you have to be at least making
75.
that $42,000 a year, and you're still not going to be able to do and save what you want to have. Now, you take it back 25 years from school education to changes, there was about a 33% difference in what people had to pay from an expense perspective. So we had a 33% increase in what we have to spend, but only a 4% increase in the salary that we're getting. So what
Wow.
did that now cause? It's caused a paradigm shift in what an individual can afford and the lifestyle they can have on their own. So what that does is it makes the relationship
Strained.
between two people even more important, and it makes finances become more of something stronger. So to put on my womanist hat, it's almost a necessity that the woman works now, because the man making what he always has can no
Not
longer
sustain
afford
the
to live
family.
in this environment. So I think a woman should work. I think she should contribute. I just don't think she should be forced to.
I agree.
I think that's the shift that we have to make when we're looking at relationships. But what's the negative outcome of that? We now have to be mindful of the people we end up with. If you're a person that's making $50,000 a year and you work hard, why are you trying to be with somebody who isn't established and can't become a contributing member to your life?
Say
Because
that.
at the end of the day, the average person without rent, without stuff, is making around $975 has expenses of $975. You take on that person in your relationship, you have to be making $975 more to accommodate that person. So we really have to look at it with the feminizing of men. If men aren't holding up their weight, especially in a relationship, the woman is now carrying a burden that she herself shouldn't have had to afford on her own, more or less, even with you. So how is that fair,
not.
And when we look at these rappers wearing, as you said, David, wedding dresses on
Br-
TV, every television movie show I'm watching has some type of homosexual element to it. I love, if you want to love who you want to love, that's
one
wonderful.
thing.
But at the end of the day, who is that really appealing to? As David said, it's
Right.
appealing to the impressionable children. As an adult, I already know what I am. I already know what decision I want to
Right.
make. So you're putting that on our kids. And what happened is we were talking about it 15 years ago, but now these 15-year-old kids that were 7 and 8 are now early 20s,
Yep.
and these are the people that can't get a job. These are the people that don't want to hold things down. What is relationship going to look like 15 years from now? And that's what I'm worried about.
Me too.
Yep.
I am definitely worried about that.
This is leading us directly into our next topic that I wanted to bring up, LGBT appropriation. what should be disclosed, what we should show each other within our relationships, whether it's on TV, whether we're out in the street, whether I mean, PDA, it's your decision, it's your prerogative.
You know,
but
PDA is.
just be mindful of, you know, the eyes that are watching. That's
right. I saw a situation play out, and I thought it was real awkward and weird in Fort Lauderdale. On the beach, there was a little girl, and she was watching a man. This was at a gay parade or a festival or whatever, and she had to be no more than 5 or 6 years old, and she was like staring up at the guy, and the guy is literally just gyrating. He's half naked, he's in a pair of short shorts, and he's just dancing, you know what I'm saying, like on a soapbox, and the little girl is sitting there watching him, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck are we doing as a society? Like, should be no reason, in my opinion, for that little girl to be sitting there watching that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's some rated R shit. Like, she's rated G, not even rated G. She's under that. You know what I mean?
But
like,
is that a homosexuality thing, or that's just an inappropriate thing?
well, there was dudes dancing.
definitely
There was dudes dancing with her too,
doing
with
it.
him too.
But
You
is
know what I
it
mean?
is it equally acceptable? Me playing devil's advocate.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have
yeah.
somebody
True,
there.
true, true.
Is it? Don't get confused.
Right.
But is it equally acceptable to have a man and a woman, or a group of women
Twerking.
exploiting themselves and behaving that way?
Right.
That's. I think that's the problem. That's another problem we do have, and that's innate feelings in us, right? It's uncomfortable for me to see two men together, but at the same time, if I have a little daughter, is it okay if a bunch of girls are out there twerking? But because I'm a male, that's something good to see. It's sexualized. It's common. I'm seeing it in the magazines. My little girl is probably going to have, is going to grow up having a more horrible misconception of seeing women out there behaving that way than they are seeing two men together. So, you know, at the end of the day, we villainize homosexuality, but we coddle heterosexual inappropriate behavior.
I think they're all one and the same.
Yeah, it's nuts.
For
It's
me,
just more uncomfortable for me to see.
Right.
When you-
Of course,
like
of
I was
course, of
thinking
course.
when Ms. Dria asked about the PDA component, like what I think about when you talk about how healthy, okay, I'm pro healthy marriages, especially from the Christian context. That's just me. We don't see enough of married people showing public displays of affection, where it's holding hands, or if it's a kiss on the cheek or a kiss. You know, I want to see more couples than I see just people just out there just being reckless with PDA out there. So when you said the PDA piece, you know, I think it's more than just, you know, of course I'm heterosexual, but I do allow people, I'm very ecumenical and people be who they be. But when it comes to those certain type of things with children around, I do believe in protecting the child's innocence. And so there are some things that I believe that are perverse. Children should not be exposed to it, because once their eye gates are open to that, and if you're not having a conversation with that child, those things that they've seen, those seeds have been sown, and those things take root in the residence. So if you're not having conversations about what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and your child sees that, they hold on to that image, they see that forever, then they start emulating that. So the conversation, like for me, is deeper than that. You know, so if I'm out to the beach and I'm happy out the beach and I see, oh, it's gay pride, we finna go to another part of the beach. We're not gonna be over here, because I don't want to put my children in a place where they're going to be exposed to something that can pretty much give them some type of
altered perception of how things.
Yeah, but I don't mind having the conversation.
Right.
Because we ain't never been. My mama was never ashamed.
Like
You can't avoid it now, though. It's everywhere, especially once they get old enough and they get into school. It's everywhere. You know, the most I can do is give a child the open, you know, giving the concept of open perspective.
Right.
Here is how I feel, but I want you to gain perspective of somebody that is different than me. And then whatever you figure out on your own, obviously the preference is my child becomes a heterosexual.
Okay.
However, you know, if my child discovers themselves and find out that they're homosexual, yes, that will be very, very difficult to deal with. You know, but I'm gonna have to figure out how to deal with that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not acceptable for me and my lifestyle, but my child is a different person from me, and just because they came from me doesn't mean they need to be like me. So, you know, there's definitely a if I were to coin the phrase, tolerance at a distance for me, but still a tolerance nonetheless. Just, you know, don't get all up in my space.
Right, it's a tension.
So.
That's a tension. There's some tension there.
And then going back to like what you were talking about with the LGBT community, LGBT.
TQ.
I don't know how many more letters are gonna be added to that. You're gonna have to put an NB at the end of that. They added a new gender. It's called non-binary in California.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
LGBTQ and B. It's serious. I don't know what's going on right now.
So
I gotta read on that one too.
You know, when we talked about like the dressing, as far as the cross dressing, and these individuals, these rappers wearing the the nail polish and the bags, the purses and stuff. A lot of times this is just
Man bag.
Yeah.
No, you don't like. Wait a
I
minute.
don't necessarily mind
certain
the man bag.
certain
But-
bags.
but-
You don't mind the
Book
man bag?
It all depends.
What if the man bag looks better than your bag?
Let me tell you one thing.
Y'all
The
need to
man
give
bag
me
better have
one.
some manly money in it.
Exactly. But
But I don't mind the man bag.
But then, but you see, here we go.
Yeah, that is
that-
they're the reason that's going on. I don't mind if you roll up to the date with a purse on. Yeah, get
No,
him, get
but
him, David,
purse.
get him.
No, I'm talking about satchel,
This is where
a
that
laptop
blurred-
satchel, a book bag.
This is where that
Book
blurred
bag,
line
satchel. No, ain't nothing blurred about no satchel and no book bag.
Book
Bro, you
bag.
better
I'm talking
not.
about a
Bro,
purse.
no, ain't no
Not
purse.
a purse.
There is no man
But
purses.
the
Give me
man bag.
No.
a description
bruh.
of a man bag in your mind.
All right, not no
Man bag.
purse. You better be hanging like my.
I want to know what a man bag
I'm
is.
sorry, ain't no man
is
bags,
just a bag
bro.
that can go over,
Nah,
it's just a
bruh.
little bag that you can carry around. It's a nice designer
Yeah,
bag.
but-
I wanted.
What about a wallet? Because I got one of those.
A
And it's
wallet?
pretty slim, nice, and you can't see it.
That's classic.
Yeah, that's about us. All it needs to be.
Right.
What do you need a man bag for?
Right.
Like,
I
what
don't
things does
know.
a man carry
Well,
around
let me
it?
tell you. Think about now. A lot of the guys who are in hip hop and the younger guys, they're carrying around these man bags. They're carrying more than just, you know what I'm saying? They're carrying a lot of other things inside
Laptop.
of that bag.
Things I see. Okay.
I'm just saying.
I
They're
carrying, I
carrying,
understand.
their little trinkets and
Right.
whatnot.
Trinkets.
Trinkets.
I mean, a book bag is one thing, but like, you won't catch me rocking no bag.
But I know I'm not gonna catch you walking one
Bruh.
because that's not your style.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, to see what we're talking about here, and automatically you guys were like, oh, I didn't mind that. But
Better be some money in that man bag. I heard you.
the thing, in our community, we, with black women, I've noticed a lot of black women that have
Preach.
gay black men as friends. Now, what you guys just said kind of fits into the situation that we're talking about here. So then when women turn around and say, oh, there's not enough good men out here, but yet you're talking to a black homosexual man, it's kind of, like an oxymoron.
But let me go there. I'm with you, Dave, but I want to go there. We talked about it outside. And what is the one thing that annoys me more than anything else? If there's something, listen, if you want to be homosexual, I think that's amazing. Stand up for what you want, love who you want, put it out there. I think that's great. What I don't like is the undercover stuff. You're an
Yes.
undercover dude. You like, if you like men, if you're a man and
Be
you're,
that.
you're into that, if that's what you want, then put it out there. But no, you're in real relationships with women. You're getting married to them. You're having kids with them. You're pulling away their choices, and
Yes,
just so
Lord.
that you can live a double life.
Right.
That's what I don't like. That's
Me too.
if there's anything that's despicable to me, that's
That.
despicable to
And
me.
Me
that's
too.
considered sexual, to me, that's considered sexual appropriation. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? Which is basically what he's talking about, and what a lot of these hip hop artists are doing too. Because at the end of the day, it's just a gimmick. They're just doing that to get attention, to gain, celebrity status or whatever, and money off of it. But behind the scenes, they're not really living like that. You know what I'm saying? They may not be gay or live their lives rocking the purses or whatever. They're just selling their souls, selling out to gain money, because that's what the CEOs and the people that are pushing this music is telling them to do. So to get a little coins, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna do that.
But who are the women that's gonna end up with the men, with the black rappers wearing purses and wearing dresses? Black women.
Yeah, black. I could
Just
say
saying.
the certain type of kind of black women, but even
Point taken.
even as a model, that's even something. Just as seeing the whole androgyny pushed to the extreme is really. And I'm sitting there looking. I've seen some images, and I'm sitting there like, bruh, they got like I would wear that outfit. Like that's wrong. Like even the whole man rumpers. Only time a boy should have on a rumper is if he's 3 and under. That's the only time a man should be in rumpers. You know what I'm saying? And even that whole rumper
It's called a onesie.
is onesies. And
You don't
even
need to
the
be
rumper-
seeing my ashy knees.
Right?
You know what I mean? It just
And
doesn't
then
need to be
the
seen.
crazy part about the rumper designs that I've seen, to me, I mean, no offense, you understand about the incarceration, what you wear in your prison, you making prison attire. They're like, yo, you can wear this outside them walls. So now you have continued that whole prison, the pipeline system, like you're still a part of that system. And to me, it's deeper than just, oh, you know, this is pushing androgyny. No, you got prison wear outside.
But
the
it's
walls.
not black men designing this stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
It's
Right.
other men
Yes.
who don't look like us who there's a big agenda. You know, at the end of the day, there's very few. What Denzel Washington is the only black, you know, celebrity I know that has not dressed up like a woman.
Right.
That's not by accident. That's
No.
by design. And at the end of the day, the media is feminizing men of color because men of color have always been seen as very strong. You know, very, very stable. And but you know, to a degree, this behavior started back, let's say, take it back to Jamaica in the 1800s.
Oh, buck busting.
There you go.
Buck breaking.
Busting.
Yeah.
You got it. You know, you get the biggest, strongest male figure in the black community, and you get him. You know,
You
and
do it in
that's,
front of his children, in front
and
of his
for
wife,
everybody.
in front of the community.
You
and
embarrass
just embarrass him.
and he'll never be seen as a man again. And
Never
whether
again.
those things are happening the same way. Buck busting is being done through making these men dress up like women with makeup on.
Oh,
It
yes.
changes the perspective.
Even to the saggy pants. I mean, it's all intentional.
Yeah.
It is all intentional.
Wow.
And there's so many different layers to it, you know, and until we as a community come together and actively speak on these things, you know what I'm saying, on a consistent basis, we're always going to have this situation play out. We're always going to have this problem because it's just going to get worse, you know. It's like the problem is just going to continue to blow up until, you know, something messed up happens. Like a situation that I saw in Virginia where the black students were being raped by the white students on the football team. They were pretending to rape them and said that, and one of the students said something along the lines, "We gotta rape the Africa out of
you."
them." You know what I'm saying? And they were saying obscenities and stuff like that while they were pretending to rape them. And you know, a lot of the kids were dominantly white. So it was like, I think only 2 black students, and they held them down and they Snapchatted it. And it went
Snapchatting
viral.
them.
Yeah, and it went viral. So, you know, my bless. And so for
Bless
me,
you.
it's like, okay, these kids are in middle school. There's no way that these kids just decided that they were gonna do this just to do it. They learned it from somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
But where does the white blame in a situation like this stop and the black accountability begin? I understand where this happened from,
Right.
and I acknowledge that this is a problem that was started to
say something.
control and defeminize and feminize, you know, black men.
something.
But what's been going on now and the extra level that it's been taken to, we did that to ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day,
Sellouts.
you know, when are we going to take accountability? But when are we going to stop looking at other people to come and save us and change us and change the way we're perceived? We're the ones dragging ourselves down. So at the end of the day, while I would like to focus on where, you know, Caucasian people or, you know, have had a negative impact on our people and how they've even brought us here,
Right.
at the end of the day, we're the ones carrying the baton now. So we can choose to stop, but we don't. We make it worse.
Right.
So I just think it's time for us to start taking some self-accountability
Definitely.
and making changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were saying that I wasn't looking at my phone, but I read this article this week, and it was talking about, it's a new term, it's a Pan-Africanism term called white sex violence. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
And in how it said it works. So I was just reading an article about that, and it's just basically a simple definition of white sex is any act of sexual deviance or sexual gender aggression deriving from Europeans that occurs between other than the consenting man and woman, including rape, homosexuality, child molestation, bestiality, orgies, which we talked about buck busting in Jamaica. As we look deeper into the rubric of white sex, white psychopathology, we see a pattern of misbehaviors that appear to be attached to the history of their social development in the caves and hills of Europe. White sojourners through the trying elements of the caves and hills of Europe took them on a very serious psychological journey to sexual perversion. When whites have social, political, and or economic control over another race of people today, that's the people's plunge into the depths of white sex, generally following in the order of the breakdown is domestic violence and misogyny, female domination and feminism. We talked about that. Rape and violence. What else they said? Rape and warfare, and homosexuality and pedophilia. What else? Homosexuality and pedophilia, how they're used. It really broke it down to genocide. I mean, it just broke it down to pretty much how colonialism and the effects of the African body, the African slave, and how that plays out as a society from generations, past the 400 years. And so just reading that this week, I was just like, wow, where we talk about the internalized white supremacy, how that affects, how it comes out in the breakdown of the black family, the breakdown of the black man, masculinity, the over dominance of the black woman now. And we talk about that patriarchy piece. How do we reconnect as a black woman and a black man, knowing that we are byproducts of patriarchy, and how that even plays within our households?
But that's so hard to do today, though, because, really take a step back. 52 years ago, just 52 years ago, you couldn't pee in the same bathroom as a Caucasian person. Generational wealth and change happens over 3 generations.
Wow.
That's 75 years. 52 years ago was the generation that came right after that was the first generation who truly had the same opportunity as people that didn't look like them. In some degrees, we are second generation to some of those people. But we're, in some cases, we're even the first generation of true generational wealth. We have 2 more generations, 50 more years, before black people can say they have a very strong foothold from an economic standpoint. So we're trying to fight. We're trying to fight a battle when we're already at the bottom of the hill. You know, and that's and at the end of the day, Caucasian people are already at the top. There's an economic advantage. Whoever has the top of the hill is there. All we can do right now, instead of focusing on where the Caucasian is in indifference to where we are, we should just focus on what our next step is. What is black people's next step? What does the next step look like? And how do we take that pivot? How do we make that change? And we as an entire group, a race, a culture of people, take one step at a time. Eventually we will get there, but I'm just not at a place anymore where I want to keep looking at white people as the response to why and where I am. We already know we got to work 5 times harder than everybody else does to
stay at the table.
We already know that. No. So why are we complaining? Let's just buckle down, get it together, and eventually we won't have to work that hard. Maybe that's ignorance on my part.
No, I want to
Maybe
ask you a question.
But
being that you're the finance guy and understanding what Black Wall Street was during the time of segregation, do you think that Black Wall Street is a thing of the past, or can we get back to the place of having healthy, viable black commerce, black businesses if we join together? Do you think it's just a thing of the past?
I think that's geographic. I think places like Atlanta, exactly, Chicago are getting
Charlotte,
to that place where
Texas,
there's strong people, because they're people with wealth and power that have that mindset to do it. But holistically, I don't think Black Wall Street is going to become a thing again, because we are too broken as a people, because media and social media have changed the way we communicate with one another, what we think, the perception of our people out there, and what the media, the actors and musicians have a responsibility that they don't take very, very largely. So they're the ones leading the charge on where we're at right now. To some degree, one can even argue we're more broken as a people now than when we were when there was segregation.
I agree.
We were more together when we were segregated.
Yes, we were.
You know, so we lost that. You have too many black people trying to be white instead of loving who you are. And at the end of the day, I know a lot of black people that, and I'll tell you, I'll be honest, most of the people that have done a lot for my career and my future have been white people.
Me too.
You know, and I'm not racist at all. I love white people and what they've done for me. But let's be honest, if I were to compare the amount that people of color have done for me in comparison to white people, it's slim to none. So you have a lot of black people who are in a place of power and don't give.
And don't reach back.
And then you have a lot of black people that don't want to hear it. If a white person and a black person stood in front of a group of black people now and gave advice, black people would take what the white person says more seriously.
Hands down.
We have a problem
down.
as a people, and it's a root issue that we have to address. And I think that a lot of this racial tension right now, we're spending too much time focusing on what white people or other people think of us, when the real problem is what we think
Think
about
of ourselves.
Right.
Oh, that's
Right,
the
right,
$1 million
right.
truth right there.
Well, okay. So we're going to take a short break, and then we're
Okay.
going to come back with some experts and see what they have to say, okay?
All right.
Okay, so please stay tuned, and we'll be back shortly.